These last few months of DBD have been uninteresting, unbalanced, and unforgiving on both sides. Whether you're a survivor going against a skull merchant who's holding the game hostage, so they're just holding a 3-gen for 45 minutes using Colubrine Overcharge, or you're a killer going against a 4-stack with Circle of Healing and medkits, and everyone's turbo healing after every chase. The game just feels really weird right now. This game has always been unbalanced. You're never going to fully balance a 4v1 game. However, right now it somehow feels bad on both sides. But at 10 a.m. this morning, the mid-chapter dev update was released. And there's a lot to talk about. I think this might be one of the most messy dev updates I've ever read. When I say messy, I don't mean it's bad. I mean the backlash is going to be ridiculous. Because let's be honest, people that only play killer and people that only play survivor have very strong opinions, even though they don't really know the other side of things. That's why I'm a firm believer that everyone should play both roles. You can obviously main one over the other, but it just helps you understand the strengths and weaknesses of both sides by playing both sides. And it's really easy to sniff those people out as well, because you can tell they don't know the other side of things. Like if I were to say killer mains, Dead Hard is not overpowered, some people would freak out. But I could also say survivor mains, healing has always been broken, and you'd be able to tell who only plays survivor. You know I love a discussion, so comment how you feel about what I just said, but also let's jump into the patch notes. I'm gonna skip the less important stuff, and I'm gonna just really harp on the weird decisions they made. For once, behavior did not cut corners and take the lazy route. This is a really solid move. PC players were really unhappy when they showed the auto leveling last week because they realized it wasn't much faster. So behavior actually went above and beyond and gave everyone every option they'd want. So you can now hold the end of a blood web and it'll automatically take you there. You can tap instead of holding for each one, and you can hold the middle to auto level. So really good decisions there. However, nothing controversial like the rest of this update. For anyone that might have ever played mobile, you'll recognize this. They're finally adding the heartbeat to the main game. I think it's a nice accessibility option, but again, not a big deal. A couple Fog Whispers hinted about this change about a month ago, so a lot of us knew it was coming, but man, am I happy to see this. I don't want to waste time by reading the whole thing word for word, so just read through it if you want. Pretty much all you need to know is they got gutted across the board. The summary of that, though, is that medkits across the board have the same amount of charges, and if you're healing yourself, you only get one heal out of them. Each one gives you stronger buffs, but most of them are revolved around altruistic healing speed, meaning healing others with your medkit. And I know you guys, you do not heal others with your medkits. But while we're on the topic of healing and how broken it was, y'all remember that little perk called Boon Healing? The most used non-OG survivor perk in the game? So it's in the title, that perk lets you heal yourself, right? Not anymore. Circle of Healing is no longer a Circle of Healing. It only applies to altruistic heals, and medkits do not apply, and you cannot use the healing speed for yourself with a medkit. What's the point? Hear me out before some of y'all start crying and throwing up in the comments. Circle of Healing was so bad for the game's health. Every time I even used that perk as Survivor, I felt bad. We used to have 4 people in a game running self-care, but at least it took up each of their perk slots. When Circle of Healing came out and self-care was nerfed, all it did was give everyone self-care without taking up a perk slot for everyone. It just took up one perk slot for one of the 4 survivors. Don't get me wrong, I don't think these new healing speeds will go through. With Sloppy Butcher, self-care will now take 86 seconds. I don't think these will go through. I think they'll tweak it in the PTB, probably down from 24 seconds base kit heal to 20 seconds base kit heal. And for reference, it is 16 seconds currently. I think Circle of Healing absolutely needed a nerf, but just not like this. To stack it with already strong healing nerfs in the same patch is kind of brutal. Speaking of perks that get nerfed no matter what, Dead Hard got nerfed again. This controversial little exhaustion perk now requires an unhook for each use. For example, you safely unhook someone, you take a chase, you Dead Hard. You then have to safely unhook someone else to use Dead Hard again. I'm a firm believer that this perk is not that serious. It was really strong, it got nerfed. People kept using it because it's a fun perk, but it gets nerfed again because its pick rate is still high. Just because it's fun. Probably have different opinions from me there, and that's totally fine. Just tell me in the comments, but let's move on to Pain Res. This is the first change I feel like they really missed the mark on. Now you get 4 total pain reses a game. Each time you hook a new survivor on a Scourge, it will activate. I think they completely missed the mark with this change because it's a Scourge perk that now requires so much pre-activation that it just isn't worth 15% on a gen. I think this perk should not be a Scourge anymore, and it's just each time you hook a survivor for the first time, Pain Res activates. If they want it to be only 4 times in a game, that's what they should have done. But I think because it's such a popular Scourge hook and they're trying to keep that mechanic relevant, they refuse to remove the Scourge aspect. Here are the changes to Overcharging Call of Brine. Obviously, they were very heavy-handed with regression perks here. They nerfed every strong regression perk, which is completely fine in my opinion, don't get me wrong. But you'd think we would have seen some kind of nerf to gen rushing. Because the reason we even got in this gen rush, gen kick meta is because they both were strong. And instead, we got this weird overzealous change. It's a fine change, but it's just really weird timing that they nerf every gen regression and actually subtly buff a gen repair perk. I don't think this perk's broken or anything, don't get me wrong, but I just find that so strange. And the final change worth noting, besides Hillbilly getting a buff, is that they're removing burning. You will no longer be able to burn Wraith at all. You will no longer be able to clear Artist Birds with a flashlight, break Hag Traps with a flashlight. You'll not even be able to blind Nurse while she's blinking anymore. Which, you know what? That's a bummer to me because I love griefing nurses. But anyways, we also got a couple little auto haven changes, but again, not really interesting enough to note in this video. I'm going to give you the full summary about how I feel about this, and I want you guys to tell me how you feel in the comments. But again, as I always say, we can be adults about this. It's a video game. We're grown, all right? If your opinion is different than mine, you don't have to comment that I'm a dog shit player. You can just tell me your opinion instead. Circle of Healing should have just been a Boon self-care, so a really slow heal. I don't think they needed to remove the heal aspect completely. However, again, I'm kind of happy to see it go from both sides of things. It also gives really strong boons like Shadow Step and Expo a bigger time to shine, because hopefully the Boon players out there will widen their horizons a bit. Dead Hard was such a stupid change. It's very clear that they're trying to push this perk so far out of the meta by nerfing it to the ground, and every time they do it, it doesn't work. I just find it absurd that Deliverance and Dead Hard have the same pre-activation now. Getting yourself off the hook alone and having 0.5 seconds of endurance now have the same pre-activation. That does not seem right. But again, they're going by pick rate and this perk is super picked, so whatever. Moving on. I think the gen kick changes were fine. I think Overcharging Call of Brine getting nerfed is totally understandable. Eruption already got nerfed as well, but I do find it strange that they did not nerf any form of gen rushing. Me and pretty much my entire Twitch chat thought they were just going to extend the time of generators if they weren't going to nerf any form of gen rushing. Maybe they're doing it step by step and they'll see how these changes play into the game and then make more changes accordingly. Though I think the gen kick changes were fine, I think Pain Res was a bad change. The perk had already been nerfed really hard before, and I just think that the way they nerfed it this time is just bad design. They should just remove the Scourge aspect and just make it, when a survivor's hooked for the first time, Pain Res activates, blah blah blah. Because hooking a survivor for the first time on a Scourge hook to use a token is just kind of stupid for a passive gen regression perk. And finally, the medkit change. If you did not think medkits needed a nerf, I guarantee you do not play killer. Medkits are so strong. Well, they were so strong. I actually think the consequence of this healing nerf is going to be gen rushing is going to be worse because no one's going to want to take hits if they have to go heal for 84 seconds. Let me know how you feel down below and have a wonderful day. Don't talk to me, just